What's up, everybody? This is the Growing Up Italian podcast, and today we have a guest. How are you doing, Gabi?
I'm doing great. If you want my Italian name, we can go by Gabriella Maria Conti. That's my full name right there.
Why
Lots of
does
vowels.
everybody have Maria as a middle name? Like,
Because everyone has an
typical?
Aunt Maria, a Grandma Maria. It's like everything.
Aunt Maria.
All those. Like a West Side Story, you know?
Exactly. So how's everything going?
Everything's good coming at you from Los Angeles. So we still have a little bit of sun left over here. It's about to get darker, but it's feeling like fall over here finally, which is nice.
Way to rub it in our face.
Sorry. It was cold though. We did have like a 60-degree day yesterday. I heard it's 70s over in the East Coast today.
Oh yeah. Well, the last 3 days have been really nice. It's right now while we're recording this, it's November 10th, and we had a great weekend, like 70. Today was very nice. There's been a bunch of beautiful days. But it's like the end of it now, I feel, because it gets dark super early now, like 5 p.m.
Yeah. I know. That throws me off too. It really does.
Exactly. So you wrote a book called
I did.
20 Guys You Date in Your 20s. There you go.
Here it is. There it is. Yes.
So I actually purchased this book, and Tamara stole it from me. For those of you that watch us on TikTok, Tamara does the podcast. No, but we had it in our office, and like a bunch of girls that come here to do videos were like, oh my God. And they're like actually scheduling, taking turns, borrowing your book.
Oh my goodness. Well, I will send you guys more copies, and I love hearing that because that's who I wrote the book for. I am in my 30s now, but everything I learned in my 20s about dating and relationships is all in this book, and it's a fun guidebook. It has stories, it has charts, it has quizzes. So if you're dating anyone that falls into these categories, which I assure you are, you and your friends could take these quizzes, read these stories, have a laugh, and hopefully not make the same mistakes I did.
Give us a little example, maybe like 5 different guys, like maybe five signs to look out for or something, like. Yeah,
I will. Well, so just so you know, these go both ways. So I'm writing it from a perspective as a straight woman, but I'm sure that I have been these types of people to men that I've dated as well. It's like the guy who got away, the guy who's hotter than you, the guy who's long distance, the guy you always go back to, the guy with an expiration date, the guy who texts you sup at 2 a.m.
Expiration date.
That's a thing though. You're moving, or it's just, you can never last. Your parents won't approve. That's a big thing in Italian dating.
That's like Romeo and Juliet, basically.
It is. But they have the same expiration date.
You keep saying like
so I'll read you all. So the guy who texts you sup at 2 a.m., the guy who's much older, the guy who's cooler than you, the guy who ghosts, the guy who's toxic, the guy who's not your boyfriend, the guy you can't remember, the guy who's a one-night stand, the guy with a fetish, the guy who's not that into you, the guy who's great on paper, the guy who's much younger, the guy who makes you do you, and the guy who's your person. So those are the 20 types of relationships.
Is there ever an instance where like one person is like 10 of those?
Oh yes, my current boyfriend is like most of these.
He's
and that's a good thing.
19 of them.
He's 19 of them. He is. And it's a cute thing because honestly, because you asked earlier, is there anything you would say like who to avoid? I really do think you can make any of these guys work for you. And I actually interviewed couples who had that relationship obstacle and made it work. The one thing I would say to not try to make it work is a toxic relationship, So that's the one thing that I'm like.
One that like, it's just not good for you, where there's a lot of arguing and malicious.
Well, arguing, I mean, as an Italian, we argue all the time, right? That's like also a way that we show our love for each other.
About, cheese and
yes, not arguing about cheating, which is another thing we want to avoid.
Yeah. So how's the book moving? Like when did this book come out? Because I feel like we've been in contact for a while, and like I've been wanting to do this podcast for a minute, and I'm glad
me too. And my dad's so proud of me being on it. I mean, I'm a fan of your Instagram page. I'm a fan of your podcast. I love that the content that you turn out is amazing. It's so relatable. Growing up Italian American, fully Italian on both sides, but American because I've never been to Italy, which I have to work on. I relate to all the content you turn out.
Over,
That's, I want to be like, Emily in Paris. I want to be like Gabriella in Italy. That's my goal after this.
That could be the next book.
That's the next book, and being called that I'm not Italian because I don't know. I only know like the Italian my grandmother taught me, all her like slang that she had.
But it's never too late to learn. I actually have a program I could send you that you can learn a lot of Italian if you really want to give it your time.
I do. I really do. That is a big goal of mine. I feel like I need to learn how to speak it and understand it more.
After this interview, I'll send you a link and.
Oh, thank you. I love that. That'd be great. That sounds like it. It really will. It really will. But yeah, no, the book's been great. It's been out since May, but I mean, what is time anymore? And we are currently developing it into a movie, which is very exciting.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, congratulations when we sell it, because we're still developing it right now.
Listen, you're already steps ahead of everybody,
I hope so. I hope so.
Are you filming like a pilot for it, or like is that the correct term?
Well, no, so that would be correct if it was a TV show, but for a movie, we put together a deck and we try to attach talent to it. But I, of course, made sure that the main character was Italian as well. That's a big theme in my writing is having parents that were Italian. Also, my grandmother raised me for a good chunk of my childhood, so she taught me a lot.
Is this character based on your life?
To some extent, yes. To some extent. I mean, the stories in the book are all from my life and from my perspective.
I'll tell you one thing. If I know anything about our followers, the first question they're going to say is, so wait, this girl was with 20 guys? That's going to be the first thing. So,
well, and I get it. I get that. But, we should try to be a little bit more sex positive in 2020. Look, I've heard that from a lot of my family too. I made news by going on 30 dates in 3 days recently for Cosmopolitan.
Like speed dating.
And I got a lot of slut shit. What is the slang for slut in Italian?
Puttana.
What do you call it?
Puttana.
Yeah. So I got a lot of that shaving, but
like puttana.
Yes, or my grandmother used to say a weird thing. She'd also call like any like slutty woman, she'd call a doo-doo, and I'm like, I think she made that up. I don't think that's a real word.
Doo-doo is like I feel like that's the Brooklyn side of your mom.
So that's my mom's Brooklyn side.
A doo-doo is like someone that's not paying attention, like an airhead.
Okay, so maybe not that then, but yeah, no, I mean, of course you hear that, but when it comes down to it, it's like, it's not saying that I had sex with 20 men. Also, if I did, that shouldn't be a problem. And these are also over the course of a decade, and I was single for a decade. So if you kind of do the math and break it down,
not bad at all. Then
it's not that bad, guys. It's not that bad. And I do think that that you should date around, and you should go on a lot of dates before settling down.
That's 2 dates a year at that average.
Right. So that's not that bad. And I'm a Cancer and an Italian. I fall in love very quickly. So,
Do you believe in astrology or astronomy?
I do. Yeah. Horoscopes and astrology. I do believe in that. I am a Cancer, and Cancers are very emotional. But then I think also being Italian and having that very passionate background, it's really a messy. I feel like either I'm Italian or I'm a Cancer. I don't know. I'm one of those two very strongly.
This is a perfect question. And so why is it that when I tell girls I'm a Gemini, they all get so scared?
Oh,
your face you just went like this too. You're like, oh no.
It's so funny because my friend who I was just telling you about, Jacqueline Marfuji, who you need to have on your podcast, I lived with her for a couple of years, and she's a Gemini. So I've dealt with that. I've also dated a Gemini, and it's you guys really do have two very distinct personalities. And that is not a generalization. I've never met a Gemini who hasn't had these two very distinct personalities.
Everybody tells me this. I'm like, sometimes I see it because my dad's a Gemini and my mom's a Gemini. So like both have two personalities. My dad especially, like one extreme to the other.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I can't imagine living in a house of Italian Geminis. That must be a lot.
Do you believe in like the moons and all that? Like what time you were born and all
yeah.
that
Well, first of all, when you were saying the moon, I was thinking you were referring to Moonstruck.
Because I've seen, listen, I'm in the meme business, right? Like,
yeah.
I look at content all day and like, could I post this? Could I not? And everybody like a couple weeks ago was like, Mars was in, something was, hold on, I'm trying to think of the
Mercury in retrograde?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So it's so funny because I never heard of Mercury in retrograde until I moved to Los Angeles, and it feels
What
like
exactly
every
does that
day.
mean? Like,
It means that the universe is in a way where like technology and communication is really funky. So usually when Mercury's in retrograde, like your phone acts up, your computer acts up, or maybe you like send a message to someone you weren't supposed to send it to. Also sometimes like exes come back into your life during Mercury in retrograde. So that could be in them like
how
liking
often
your
does it
photo.
happen? Like,
I don't know. In LA, I'm not kidding you. It feels like seasonally, or if not
like
more
once every four
frequently than
months or
that.
something?
Yeah, but I think it depends, and I feel like it's something that you had no idea was happening until someone tells you about it, and then you think it happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a website, ismercuryinretrograde.com, and you just go to that website and you could find out firsthand if Mercury. I'm not kidding you. That's a
That's
real
perfect.
website.
That's perfect.
That's a real website. But no, I do believe in the moons and that kind of thing, because I do feel like when there's, my dad too says it, when there's a full moon, he like can't sleep. And I feel the same way. Like I feel very connected to that. I know this sounds like woo woo, but I do think it's a thing.
This past October, we had 2 full moons in a month. We had a full moon,
Yeah.
is it full moon and blue moon? See, I'm learning along the way too, just from what I see, you know? But
Well, how do you feel when those full moons were out?
I don't feel anything. And people are like, you're just saying that because you don't wanna, give in.
Yeah.
Really, I honestly didn't like, because I was talking to somebody about manifesting,
Yeah.
like, when you want something to happen, like all that kind of stuff. So like, I'm really like learning a lot about that, even though it's just through people and like what I hear.
Well, yeah, and sooner or later you're going to have a crystal collection, and that's when you really
Oh my
know that
God.
you've believed in that. The crystal and the sage
Like
and the Palo Santo.
I tease people about it. I call it like a rock collection.
Yeah. It is. I mean, but I think it's kind of, I mean, and especially in these times when things are so uncertain, I feel like it's nice to have something that gives you belief. I mean, I remember also my grandmother with like the rosaries and like all that stuff was like her big thing. I feel like our generation, not that it is religious, is like really into like rocks for some reason. That's our faith, I guess.
Like I've always like known people that collect rocks for places they've been and stuff like that. And I always tease people, like, look at this rock collection over here, like, or when someone's luggage is heavy, what, you got rocks in there, like,
Yeah,
it's just a constant joke,
it is. It really is. But I guess, there's a big market for it in Los Angeles. There's stores that just sell crystals that do very well, I'm sure.
How did, to take a little step back,
Sure.
how did you end up from, you said your mom and dad were from Brooklyn and Queens.
Yes.
And I feel like everybody always, eventually when you're in like a certain industry, especially like film and entertainment, anything of that sort, you end up in Los Angeles, California.
Yeah, it was a crazy story. Yeah, so my mom's from Brooklyn, but it's so funny. She doesn't like me telling people that she's from Brooklyn. And I'm like, Mom, Brooklyn's really trendy now, and also like street cred for being from Brooklyn. And my dad's from Queens, and they met in New York City. They were working at the same advertising company together. And then they I was born in Manhattan, and then we moved to Connecticut when I was 6 because of the schools. That's why I come off very white. I don't come off Italian, sadly. I wish I did. I want to be more Italian. And then I went to school in Boston to a liberal arts college called Emerson College. So they have an LA program there. So because everyone's studying media, it's just like the natural thing. So I moved out to LA as soon as I graduated, and because
like
all my
21, 22.
21, yeah, 21 years old, moved out here. I've been here ever since. I did try to move back to New York, but I was too close to my parents, and so that was a little problematic for me. So now I'm back here, and I call them and FaceTime them every day. They're still in Connecticut. Yes, they are. So that was a lot.
So you don't see yourself moving back?
I don't. I know it's sad. I really do. But I will say, like, there's a lot less Italian culture in California than there is in New York. And I miss that. I wish Los Angeles had like a little Italy, or like, I mean, even like the number of delis we have, it's like, there's not that. And I remember so fondly, like in Connecticut with my dad going to A&S Deli to get the antipasta platter for Christmas Eve. And like, even though those are like such small things, like I miss those things here. And there is like I mean, there's pizzerias, but it's not, and there's like fancy Italian restaurants, but there's not like that mom and pop
People always say
feeling.
it's the water, it's the Brooklyn water.
It probably is. It really is, because although I will say, so Nancy Silverton is like a big chef out here, and she has Mozza, which is like one of the best pizzerias. And there's something that she does that she figured out how to do a good like bread without the Brooklyn water.
There's this kid I just met. I had him on the podcast actually. His name's Massimiliano, aka Massimo, and he has like a TikTok with a bunch of followers, and he's off the boat from Italy. Like
oh my goodness,
he's like in LA for 6 years, and he works at 2 restaurants, but he does acting too. I gotta connect you with him.
Yeah. Find out what restaurants he works at.
I'll tell you, he actually just texted me a couple of days ago because we were talking about something. He said he works at Osteria Mama on Melrose and.
Oh yeah, I know that. I know that place. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, I love.
I asked for Massimo.
I will. I love meeting other Italians in California. They're here, but yeah, they're very far.
You gotta find them. You know, you just gotta find them. You gotta make your own network of them. You know.
Exactly. Just like you did. You have your own network now.
Exactly. Like have a meeting every month. You know, like you gotta initiate, like maybe eat a whole pizza pie to get in the crew or something. You know.
I think, or a sauce competition. Who has the best sauce? And if your sauce is good, then. You know, we all have those recipes.
So what else would you say, like as far as like your writing and stuff goes, do you have any other like bodies of like work out there, or like projects you're working on?
Yeah, I mean, well, projects right now, it's I also host, so I host a show, an entertainment talk show. So that's what I do Monday through Friday on Hollywire. So you can see me do that, which is a lot of fun. And then in terms of writing, it's really just this book right now, but I've contributed to Cosmopolitan. So I have a lot of articles that are floating around on the internet, and I definitely, so definitely working more on screenplays. I've had some pilots in the past, but definitely want to like do more screenwriting, and more books down the line for sure. But,
you have out right now.
I just have, this is the only book I have out right now is this book. But
I was looking at the book, it's funny you say, I got the feel of a magazine. Like it looks like it's a super, super easy read. Like, and I saw before I even got to read it, you had told me before that you had like a specific, one of the specific people you're talking about was like an Italian guy. So you specifically told me like, look out for this one. And I remember
it wasn't an Italian. Well, first of all, I was talking to my dad before this, and he reminded me that my very first love ever, I met at summer camp, and he was Italian, off the boat Italian, who was going to summer camp in Maine. And that was my very first love, but it was unrequited on my end, meaning I was into him and he didn't write back my pen pal letter, but it's okay. I'm over it, clearly. But
how long did it take you to get over that?
Like all of my 20s.
So basically, like what it would be nowadays, like being left on red.
Left on red. So the crazy thing was, I met this guy. I was like, we spent the whole dance together. I really thought he was like really into me. I couldn't stop talking about him. I wrote him a letter on Ann Getty stationery, which is the stationery with like the babies wrapped in like flowers and produce. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I never heard of it. No, I never heard of it.
Definitely sent the wrong message. I sent him the letter. I never heard back.
So you sent him like an edible arrangements kind of thing? What
it was a picture of a baby. It was like babies wrapped in lettuce. That was like the stationery. If you Google like Ann Getty, you'll see what I'm talking.
Newborn babies?
Newborn babies. I don't know like why that definitely was like why he didn't write back. Maybe, I don't know. But apparently
you would have thought like I don't want to have kids yet kind of thing.
Yeah, and I was like 13, by the way. 13, braces, acne, like, you know, but still at 13, like all I would listen to was like Sinatra and show tunes. So like I thought I understood love because of those songs that I grew up on.
Rightfully so.
And then, sorry?
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so, yeah. And what happened is my friend from school actually was in his bunk and told me that he got the letter and he hung it up on his wall like a trophy, but he never wrote me back. And then years later, we reconnected on Facebook and we talked for a little bit. And then just recently, he sent me a message. Like, he finally kind of wrote back to me. He sent me a message on Instagram, basically saying how he wished that we could have connected when we
Yeah, you
did
know
and
what
all
it
this
is?
stuff.
He saw that blue check. You gotta tell him that ship has
That
sailed. You gotta say that ship has sailed, pal. Sorry.
And I'm in a relationship, and there's pictures of me and my boyfriend all over my Instagram. So there's no way that but that's so funny. It's like, yeah, you really want what you literally can't
What you
have.
can't have. It is 100% true, because even in, like, from what I've learned is, like, from my dating life is, like, whenever you actually get what you want, all of a sudden you're like, wait, this is what I wanted so bad. Like, and
Yeah,
you feel like a sort of like emptiness, like, okay, yeah, this isn't what I thought it was, you know? And then a
totally.
couple rare
So,
instances when you are happy is when it really is something special, you know? At least for me.
mhm.
I don't know if that's me
No, that
talking
is
as a
true.
Gemini or,
I don't know. Yeah, you like, what is happiness for a Gemini? Because like one side of you is happy with this, the other side of you could be happy with something else.
yeah, the grass is always
Uh,
greener on the other side.
it is. Oh, but the thing in the book that I was telling you about was that I went on a date with a guy who told me Sinatra was overrated.
Oh
But
my God.
that was it. And he had Sinatra's mugshot, like that poster that
Yeah, the
everyone
famous
has,
one.
the famous one, when he had a big giant poster of that in his apartment. And this was after he told me Sinatra was overrated. And when I saw that, I was like, excuse me, why do you have, if you don't like Sinatra, why do you have his mugshot? And he's like, oh, it's a cool picture. And I just imagined, like, how could I ever continue to date this guy? Because how could I explain to my dad, who loves Sinatra, that the guy I was dating thinks Sinatra's overrated but has his mugshot? It was like one of those realizations. And that's in the book. That's the guy who's great on paper, because we were set up through
Okay.
matchmakers.
Oh, you set up on match. So wait, have you dabbled, like, so when you were like going on this, the 10 years of you, meeting all these different guys and seeing what was right for you, did you meet a lot of them on like dating apps like Tinder or like stuff like that?
Well, so the interesting thing is I was a serial monogamous since high school. So I was always in relationships. And the reason why I wrote this book is because at 23, I found out that my boyfriend of over a year was lying to me about his age. And when
That he
I
was
found,
younger?
oh, older,
That he was older than what he.
he told me he was 35 years old, and I
Oh,
found out that he was really 45 years old. And
oh
that
my
is,
God.
if that is not an LA dating Hollywood in a nutshell, like, story, I don't know what is.
Did he
Um,
look like he was 35 though?
yeah, he did. He really did. People in LA look very young, and also it's like I didn't really know how old people were. Like how old is Brad Pitt? How old is Johnny Depp? You know what I mean? Like those their ages. I just think of them as Brad Pitt and Johnny Depp. He wasn't Brad Pitt or Johnny Depp, but he was like a good-looking actor slash model turned producer who like really kept himself looking great. And at
About
23, I didn't know what a
wheatgrass.
35-year-old looked like. You know?
Yeah. So that was like, how did you find out that, first of all? Like, did you just like see his ID one night or?
Well, it was that I was looking for a pass. This was back when we would watch like Netflix on your iPad. And so he asked me to pick out a movie to go, like, before he went to bed on his iPad. And it was passcode protected. And I asked him his passcode, and he said it was his birthday. And I just couldn't remember the exact date of his birthday. I know that makes me sound like a horrible girlfriend, but like, I don't even remember like my best friend's birthday unless it's like in my phone. I'm just really bad with numbers.
Yeah, I don't even
Um,
remember when Facebook reminds me.
Right, yeah, exactly. And like, so I had to look at, so his like wallet was on the nightstand, so I went to grab his ID to find out his birthday so I could be like an informed girlfriend. And then I saw that actually saw the year, and I did the math with my iPhone and found out that he was lying.
You saw 1975 and you're like, oh my God.
It was, yeah, it was just insane to me. It was actually at the time, because he's now in his 50s, because back then I'm 33 now. So this was like almost 10 years ago. It
Mhm.
was like 66 or something. So it made him 45, and I thought he was 35, and I had just celebrated what I thought was his 36th birthday, and I made a card of like 36 reasons why I loved him, and he never told me he was actually 45. So And
And
so that's why I started writing this book. And then to answer your question, that's when after that breakup, Tinder came out. I was like one of the first people on Tinder. So half of the book are like real, like natural relationships, and the other half is mostly online dating.
you think online dating works?
Yeah, I met my boyfriend on Bumble. We've been together for over a year. I definitely think it works.
Bumble, I feel like from what I hear, because I'm not on any dating sites, but from what I hear is like Bumble is the serious one. Like if you want to get in a relationship,
Yeah.
Bumble.
But also some people go on there and they pretend they want a relationship, but they don't. Like that's another thing that happens on there. But my boyfriend really was looking for a relationship, and I didn't know what I was looking for, but I think deep down I wanted a relationship, and it just worked out. So
We just lost you for a second. Okay.
yeah, there is yeah. And
Yeah,
it worked out.
That's exactly like what dating is, though, is, finding the common ground for people to like, this is what I want, this is what you want. It works.
Well, yeah, and you know what I've been offering is, because I've been on these dating apps forever and I've been on more dates than the average person, I recently offered my followers that I would give them free dating app edits, meaning that they would send me screenshots of their dating profiles and I would give them like notes about their pictures or their bio and stuff like that.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah,
That's
and
hilarious.
people found it to be super helpful. And I also did see, because I do think like a lot of like how dating
So
apps work
give
is
me
if
an
you're
example.
using
Like,
them
what's
right.
some advice you're telling girls? Like
So
I
for
want
girls,
to know how girls could like. Some girls, like, the angles are crazy, and like now with the filters and everything, you don't know what anybody looks like. I'm just gonna say it
exactly.
like it is. So
You're
like
right though.
somebody like could put like this, like, if you see sparkles in the face on like a profile picture and all the pictures of that, like, just be mentally prepared. That's not what you're getting yourself into.
That's so true. But also, I see guys do it too with their pictures. Like they don't do the filter as much, but like the way that they'll
The
shoot
beard is
themselves, or
darker. The beard is darker.
yeah, beard is darker, or they're in or a group shot, so like you can't tell which one they are, or they're holding a fish, so you're looking at the fish, you're not looking at them. There's a lot of diversions going on with men's profiles. And I looked at both men and women's profiles, and yeah, the theme I saw, the big thing is like exactly what you said. I feel like your profile needs to be authentically you. Like stop trying to be someone you're not, because when you eventually go on this date with this person, they're going to figure out who you are. So I think that goes down to your pictures and what you're saying. So for girls, I had some girls that would have like multiple Halloween costumes on there, or like the filters and all that stuff. And I would urge them to do, or pictures where they're really far away from the camera. Like their first shot is like a long distance shot.
Mhm.
And so that was my big thing. I was like, your first photo needs to be a picture of just you. The other thing is no drinks in the first picture, because I think that you could end up like someone who drinking isn't part of their lifestyle. I think you're losing them right away if you have a drink in your hand. It also kind of shows that like your only personality is drinking. And I feel like the first shot should be like just focused on you, kind of candid, showing who you are in your element. And then you could add the other shots later as they're swiping. But you definitely want an inviting shot for your first picture.
AKA the best one. Like, you gotta bring the heat.
The best one. And I noticed that too. And I think they don't realize what's their best shot, because I would look at people's pictures and I'd be like, your best shot is your fifth picture. Why is it that needs to be your first one? Why is it, so a lot of people don't know how to order their photos. And I think their friends are giving them worst advice. So I think talking to someone who is not a friend, but someone who's been there could be helpful with this for sure.
It's a smart idea. I think you could do a little business out of it.
That's the goal. I was offering it free if people showed me that they voted in the election, but now that the election's over, I'm thinking of charging something that would be not a lot of money, but like what you would spend on your drink on a date, with like the whole thing being like, instead of going on a date and realizing this isn't working, like take my advice first and invest in this.
You could do like something on Cameo, or some kind of Patreon, or not Cameo, but Patreon.
Patreon, not OnlyFans, Patreon.
Well, OnlyFans, like, I'm not subscribed to anybody, but I know that a lot of people that are famous are using it too, because for what you're saying, like, they'll do Q&As on it, and exclusive, like, OnlyFans is only like for exclusive content. That content could either be like people naked, or it could be like, you know, Cardi B answering questions for her fans that really
That
want,
is true.
you know?
That is
But,
true. I just think people think that their brain goes to nudity when
yeah,
you say OnlyFans,
I
not
know, I know.
fan connections.
100%. Like if you told me you had an OnlyFans or anybody told me they had OnlyFans, right away I would think, oh, it's that kind of thing. You know?
Yeah, and that's my other dating advice. If you do have an OnlyFans, don't put that immediately in the first picture of your dating app profile. Put that later.
Well, you know, you got to put it in your where the website is, so that way you could get subscribers. You know.
Exactly. Well, that's the other thing too that another big mistake people do on dating apps is people who use their dating apps to get more Instagram followers, and that is
They
like
link the
that
two.
shows. Yeah, people can see that because it's like they're like add me on Insta, like, or I've seen the whole like I don't answer DMs, like if you want me to like message you, like add me on Instagram and message me there. It's like that's so it's so obvious what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I know. It's smart though.
It is smart,
Like
but
for people that I work with that ask me for advice on how to grow, this is a gem for everybody that's still listening. But I'll say do TikToks, and if you're on those dating apps, like link them on that and say follow me there. You know, like
yeah.
that's why some of these girls have 40, 50,000 followers, and you're like, why do they have so many followers? Because they have their best pictures first, second, and then, you know, they're linking the two.
They're linking it. They're linking it. But if you really are looking for a genuine connection and not followers on Instagram, don't do that.
Yeah. Maybe in the 30s.
Maybe well 30s. Well, that's the other thing too. You know, I think that there's a whole the biological clock, right? I mean, we know that from my cousin Minnie. We see that all the time. It's like I think that that's becoming less and less of a thing, and I think that if we should stop trying to settle, especially as women. I think that the right person is out there, and the best person is being yourself and being authentically yourself and being a whole person, and then attracting someone else who's also whole, because when you settle, that's when you make dating mistakes for sure.
Listen, I don't think there's a better way to end an episode than that. So for everybody that's been tuned in, check out Gabi on all her social platforms. Definitely pick up this book. I feel like if you're looking for some dating advice, it'll be perfect fit. Gabi, before we go, I got to ask you something after I end.
Sure.
Do you want to say anything before we go?
Well, yeah. I mean, follow me on Instagram at It's Gabi Conti. That's ITSGABICONTI. And my book, 20 Guys You Date in Your 20s. Great holiday gift, by the way. And it's available wherever you buy or listen to books. So definitely get that.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.